Item B, receive the quarterly financial report as of December 31st, 2009 for the 2009-10 General Fund, Special Revenue Funds, Enterprise Funds, and Capital Improvement budgets. Mr. O'Leary.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, in looking at the reports for the first 6 months of the year on the city's various budgets, it does give the City Council an opportunity to consider the revenues and expenses that have been received during the year and begin to set a trend and to be able to look at what we might expect to realize through the course of the 12-month budget period. As the Council well knows, there are various impacts of the economic crisis that's hit the nation and the region. And just briefly, the assessed values in San Mateo County and the city of San Bruno have declined. Foreclosures of property are up. The unemployment rate in San Mateo County has risen to 9%, which is about double what it was only 2 years or so ago. Business and leisure travel remains down. That impacts both our TOT, the hotel motel tax, and also the airport parking tax as it relates to traveler parking related to the airport. Development and construction, I want to amend, I say here it's disappeared. It's significantly reduced throughout the county, throughout the state, which has a variety of impacts, and it directly is impacting the revenue the city of San Bruno is receiving. And then, as the City Council spoke earlier at the study session, the state at this point is continuing their plan to grab $1.9 million of the city's redevelopment agency funds to use for their own purposes for attempting to balance the state budget. The City Council is well aware that this is a matter of litigation. Litigation is currently underway, but at this point, from the state's perspective, they are expecting the city to be paying this $1.9 million in May of this year. Would like to just walk through the general fund revenues with the City Council and make a couple of comments on the revenues. This page is showing the general government, primarily the tax and related revenues the city receives. The next slide has departmental revenues. And there's really two areas of concern at this point, again, looking halfway through the year and projecting all of our revenues for the next 6 months. There are two primary areas of concern. I'll touch on these as I go through, and then there's additional slides where I make some more comments about those particular two. Property tax, you see 44% is received through first half of the year, and generally one would anticipate just based on formula that halfway through the year you should receive pretty close to half of the revenues, and there would be half of the expenditures. So I'm primarily going to comment on those that are deviating more significantly from the 50%. Property tax is declining. The budget for property tax this year is less than it was for last year. And yet we're only at 44% of the property tax revenue for this year. This very specific reason for that is the state did take in December property tax. They borrowed under the provisions of Proposition 1A. They borrowed about $429,000 of our property tax revenue, And that's the specific reason for the 44% number, although because of the action the City Council took related to the securitization of that and the provision that the League of California Cities was instrumental in setting up for cities, on January 19th, the city actually received that $429,000 back again. So in essence, for the first half of the year, revenue is pretty close to 50%, and we're pretty confident that property tax, again, while it's declining as a revenue source, is going to meet the budget of this year. Sales tax is only 37%. We now believe that sales tax is going to be significantly under the budget, and again, I'll come back to that in a moment with a couple of other comments. The other revenues are pretty much on track. I would say I might just mention motor vehicle license fees, 48%. Overall, that might be down a little bit, but there is some ERAF money that the city is getting excess of that will probably offset that. But what I just wanted to mention to the council is the half of the motor vehicle license fee money we receive currently is through the triple flip process that the state has developed. The state, in applying that, is increasingly collecting administrative fees related to the collection, both at the state level and the county level, and what they're transmitting to the city. And we now anticipate that next year there will be a measurable and a significant decrease in our motor vehicle license fee revenue, primarily because of the actions, again, the state, for their own purposes, taking some of our BLF money. But for this year, I don't think there will be a significant deviation. Again, business taxes are shown significantly high because business licenses themselves are collected at the beginning of the year. What they're actually due in August. So that is primarily paid in advance. So that's the reason that is high. Down under departmental revenues, for the most part, revenues are on track. The fire appears high at 79%, only because of the advance payment of the residential or the multifamily inspection fee. So that's collected with the business license. So that's why that is ahead of schedule. The other area of concern of the two that I mentioned is planning and building at 37%. That is a revenue source that, based on what we know now, is probably going to be under our budget. Overall, our revenues in the general fund are at 45% of the total budget this year. At the same time last year it was 48%. So we are a little bit under the percentage, and again, that's driven primarily by the sales tax being short or being short and then projecting to be short for the whole year, and the same with building and planning. So just to summarize the economic crisis as it impacts San Bruno, property tax revenue has declined and is declining. Taxable sales has dropped within the city. And just a brief summary, the top 10 businesses, the sales tax they've generated, the sales and the sales tax they've generated have dropped 24%, one quarter, since 2007. Our auto dealers, we have 2 auto dealers in town now, they are down 50%, again, since 2007. And the department stores at Tan Fran are down 8% since 2007. In addition to that, the hotel tax revenue is collected monthly, and we now have been in a period of decline compared to the same month the year before. We've had 13 months of decline of our TOT tax, and that's following about a 16-month period of increase in TOT. This slide is really showing, summarizing the actions the City Council took in adopting the 09-10 budget for property tax, sales tax, the TOT, and then planning and building fees as it relates to the budget that was approved for the prior year. You can see property tax was dropped by almost $500,000. Sales tax compared to the prior budget was $865,000 reduced. The hotel tax was $51,000, and planning and building fees were $1.5 million reduced. Based on what we see at this point, the projection for the rest of the year for sales tax even after the $865,000 reduction that was taken, it appears that there might be an additional $700,000 reduction in sales tax revenue by June 30th. And planning and building fees, after we again reduce them by $1.5 million, based on the current trend, our expectation is that there might be an additional $300,000 reduction in planning and building revenues for 9-10. Going back to the sales tax for a second, just wanted to indicate to the council, if you look back over the last 10 quarters, you can see the decline that has occurred in our actual sales tax receipts each quarter since the first quarter of 07-08. You can see the first quarter of 07-08, we received $1,720,000 in sales tax revenue, and from that time, except for that the blip up in the third quarter of that same year, you can see that there's a virtual decline every quarter all the way down, where based on our analysis with our sales tax consultants, you can see our estimates for the next 2 quarters of this year, the third and fourth quarters of the current year. You see further declines. And just wanted to point out that when we were making our estimates for the current year, we were really in the second and third quarters of 08-09, where the sales tax had according to those quarters, had somewhat stabilized at $1.6 million each quarter. We recognized that there were going to be declines, and again, that's the $865,000 that we were anticipating reduction in 9-10. The fact that there's an additional $700,000 is just really reflecting the state of the economy, and it would have been difficult to predict that. I did want to make one additional comment from really the first slide, talking about San Mateo County unemployment rate at 9%. It would just be a belief that while in many measures economists would say that the economy has improved over the past 12 months in many ways. I mean, they talk nationally about the recovery is without jobs, and the fact that the unemployment is staying up at such a high level here in San Mateo County, it would seem to me would have a direct relationship to our continuing ability to stem the lowering sales tax. When people are unemployed and don't have work, it's difficult for them to purchase the items that sales tax are on. So I think there's probably a correlation that until the unemployment improves, we probably don't have great expectation for the sales tax to improve. Those are really my comments on the general fund revenue. I was would be glad to answer any questions. On the general fund expenditure, the total expenditure is 48% of the budget, and it was 48% at the same time last year. In almost, we've done a detailed analysis of every expenditure line item. The two areas, and while police and fire are both under 50%, as shown here, Line items that would concern us a little bit are overtime. Staying within the overtime budget in both police and fire is a challenge, and I would expect that there will be some overage based on the first 6 months trend in overtime in the public safety departments. So just in summary, it would be the belief as far as the general fund is concerned, again, based on the data that we have for 6 months, that I would believe is a credible trend. It would be our expectation that there may be general fund revenues totaling $1 million less than what we had budgeted. Of the $30 million we had budgeted, there will likely be a reduction of up to $1 million more. And in looking at the fund balance, the difference between revenues and expenses, and again, in some measure, focusing on the overtime on the expenditure side, might expect an overall gap between revenues and expenditures to be around $1.3 million. So based on what we actually have received so far, that would be my best projection of where we will go over the next 12 months, or the next 6 months, the total year. I was just going to make the other funds. There's not much different to report. Again, on the redevelopment agency, the revenue at 60% is so high, really, because of some one-time revenues that the redevelopment agency has received this year. So I don't believe we're going to repeat the $4.1 million that we received in the first half of the year in the second half, but I do believe that we're going to be very close, or we will be slightly over, very, very close to the budget number. I might point out that what we're showing is a $7 million expectation of revenue into the general fund operations. Last year, that amount was $6 million. So there has been, in this year, and again, the redevelopment agency, just to indicate again, the viability and the robustness of the redevelopment agency at this point, and the growth in revenue in the redevelopment agency, it's still significant. The internal service funds and the garage and buildings and self-insurance and technology, there are no significant deviations from the budget, and don't really expect anything other than that for the second half of the year. Again, the revenues at 50%, these are all allocation driven, so we are going to get 100% of the allocations at the end of the year, and you see that the expenditure totals are generally below the 50%. The only one that's higher is self-insurance, and the explanation for that is there are insurance premiums that cover the whole year that are due in July, so a significant amount of the expenditure total is spent at the beginning of the year, but again, overall would anticipate that expenditures are not going to go over. And then finally, again, for the enterprise accounts, close to what would be expected. The revenues are right around 50%. Expenditures a little bit less. Would just point out in the packet report on stormwater, there is a significant difference between the revenues this year and last year in stormwater, and that's an anomaly only to the extent that the stormwater fund is significantly small. That last year, when the Lehman Brothers investment loss was allocated to the stormwater fund, it appeared to be a significant, it had a significant impact on the revenue. So the point is that the stormwater fund itself is not doing significantly better than last year, except that the one-time loss last year is not being repeated again. With that, That is my report, and if the council had any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Any questions of Mr. O'Leary? I believe the city manager has some comments on this item.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Given the information that is presented in this report, I am asking the City Council to, as part of your action to receive this report tonight, to direct staff to move expediently to a study session with the City Council, at which time I believe we need to immediately address the effects of this additional revenue loss that's affecting the current year's budget, and if unaddressed will continue to create a problem or exacerbate a problem that we anticipate for next year's budget. Having made that request, I would like just to reiterate something that Mr. O'Leary said, and just for the purpose of making clear that the city did take the necessary actions, both at the mid-year last year, when we observed an even more significant problem occurring last year, as well as at the adoption of the budget in June of 2009, the current year's budget. The results that you're receiving tonight are not a factor of improper budget oversight, as you see that expenditures are trending in the manner that one would expect given our normal operations. Unfortunately, the issue that we're experiencing is an additional revenue loss below those levels that were decreased in the budget over the prior year and still continuing to decline. It is for that reason that I think we need to move expediently towards discussion about what to do about this situation. And again, I would ask the City Council direct us to immediately try and identify a date. We've already done some work on that, and it's proving to be a little bit difficult. So I would suggest that that study session occur within the next 2 weeks.
Through the chair, I would agree and direct, my opinion, for a study session as soon as possible with the City Council. Also to not only ask for the citizens' participation in this, to be engaged, but also for the city employees to be invited to this study session so they can be a part of the process as well, to update the group or committee that meets on a regular basis since last year's negotiations. Obviously, the state is borrowing, the state is taking, but we're required to balance our budget. And I believe the citizens expect us to live within our means as they have to, as we all up here have to. And I think we're going to have some very hard questions that are going to have to be asked, and some very tough decisions are going to have to be made. So I would encourage everyone to be engaged and participate and look at the process and offer your commentary and your ideas. And assist us along the way, because this is going to affect all of us as a community. And it's our community. So I would encourage your participation as well.
Any other comments, questions? Do you have, I know that we've talked preliminarily about some dates in the very near future. Do you have anything in mind now, or do you want to get back to us with some more proposed dates so we can get back to you?
I think the most efficient thing to do would be to follow up with you beginning tomorrow morning. The dates that we've looked at already are not available for all 5 City Council members. And that being noted, if it's council's pleasure that this occur soon, then we may have to consider whether we go with 4 council members. But we will certainly get on that first thing in the morning, and I would say that would be the more efficient way to handle it.
Okay, very good. We'll be hearing from the city manager. We want an action on this to motion to receive the report, or do we need anything?
It's not necessary.
Okay, fine.